When the clock welcomes in a new year, the world erupts in celebration and hope. Hope the new year will be better than the last. But in 1989, the new year was marred. A security guard brutally murdered while on the job. The crime remains unsolved nearly 3 decades later, but investigators made a New Year's resolution to solve the case, a resolution that remains strong today. Local 15's Darwin Singleton investigates in tonight's Friday Night Mystery.
Moments after midnight, 1989, a new year arrives with a bang in Mobile. It's a time of promise and of optimism. But in a quiet corner of Brookley Field, it's a time of confrontation, of fear, and then deadly silence. While most of Mobile was celebrating a new year, for 49-year-old Gary Napier, it was just another night at work. He was a security guard out here at Brookley Field, and in 1989, this was a pretty lonely place. He could probably see the fireworks from here. In fact, that was probably the last thing Gary Napier would ever see.
He went to work at 11 o'clock that night, and as far as we know, he made his last check-in or his last key turn that he was supposed to make about 2 a.m. And he was found stabbed to death the next morning.
The crime scene was on the grounds of International Security Systems in Brookley, now the home of Teledyne Continental. While we can show you where he died, we cannot show you a picture of Gary Napier. The crime scene photographs are much too violent and disturbing to share. But they serve as pieces of evidence. Mobile Police Cold Case Detective Rusty Hardiman and company keep close. They are determined to find out who fatally shot the father of two and why.
He had a wife, he had a son and a daughter, and they want answers. I mean, their dad went to work that night and never came home. He had multiple stab wounds to his torso and defensive wounds on his hands and arms, so he was in a fight for his life that he lost.
Napier's 1986 Buick Skylark would later be found a short distance away at the intersection of Nellie and Kellogg Streets, but it contained nothing that would have identified the killer. Equally puzzling is why. Though MPD detectives have revisited this case several times since 1989, they have found no motive, no reason why someone would want Gary Napier dead. Other than the car, nothing of any value appeared to be taken. Did the security guard stumble upon something that criminal minds didn't want him to see? Was this simply a car theft with deadly consequences? All questions that have haunted investigators for 28 years. Questions that still haunt Napier's daughter to this day.
I know that she's still struggling what happened. I know that her and the rest of the family are still dealing with the loss of her dad.
So much so that Napier's daughter, Kathy, has stayed in touch with detectives, sending Hardiman this letter back in 2010, asking the department to keep the murder investigation alive.
His daughter contacted me several years ago, and she wanted to visit the scene. And I met with her, we went out, and she had a moment with her at her dad's final place. You're never going to close these wounds. That'll never happen. But getting answers can ease the mind a little bit.
For Friday Night Mysteries, I'm Darwin Singleton, Local 15 News.
Now, if you have any information about that 1989 murder of Gary Napier, please give Detective Rusty Hardiman a call at the number there on your screen, 251-208-18.